Our goal is simple, to help you achieve the dream and vision you first had when you thought about starting a business. We're here to make growing your business less complicated. There are building blocks to build a sustainable business. We promise to seek them out and address them all. The Better Your Business Show starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the Better Your Business Show. Here we discuss your most important business challenges and provide you with practical solutions to help you better your business.
Absolutely. So if you're an entrepreneur, mamapreneur, any kind of preneur, papapreneur, then you're an overachiever, a go-getter. You have dreams and aspirations, which you may not have. Our experts who can help you step by step to achieve your goals.
Absolutely. And that's why we bring on the guests that we do to the show, so that they can bring their insights and their experience to you to help you break down these building blocks that are holding you back from achieving sustainability so that you can build a better business.
Yes. So whether you are joining us live or watching the replay, make sure you take your free business assessment at pillar5.com and join us live in our virtual studio where we can address your comments and concerns throughout the show.
Absolutely. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Every day is Monday. Let's go ahead and get back to it again.
Yes.
Today, I'm really excited. I didn't get to speak to the young lady as often as I'm going to try not to overindulge today and listen more. We have a phenomenal guest today that's going to help us dive deep into our topic, into a specific action step that requires many action steps and things like that. Who is that that's going to be on the show today, Miss Natalie?
So we will have Michelle Seiler Tucker here with us this morning. She is the author of Exit Rich. She's actually an author of multiple books. Her newest book is Exit Rich. When I think of Michelle, I think of a triple threat. I mean, she really is just phenomenal. It blows my mind when I look at what she's accomplished. It's really just mind-blowing, especially as a female. So if anyone's starstruck this morning, it is me. I promise you that. So I couldn't be more excited, for sure.
Yeah, man.
It's a huge honor to have her on the show.
Well, I had the privilege of talking with her for a moment on my way to Atlanta, and I think we started off with a scheduled 10 or 15-minute call, and an hour later, we were still going at it, and I just didn't get enough of her. So I'm super happy to have her on the show. I'm dealing with a little dysformity on the left side of my face, so I'll be coming in and out of the screen, but predominantly I want to make sure that she's on the screen. Beautiful woman, educated, brilliant, go-getter, trendsetter. You know what? Enough. Michelle, join us on the show.
Let's bring her in. Yes, Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you all
We
so
are,
much.
I mean, yes, just so thrilled. I mean, when I look at your accomplishments, it's really just mind-blowing to me. I watched a lot of your YouTube videos. I've been listening to your podcasts, and just even as a female in business, as being in business is challenging enough. Being a female in business, seeing what you've accomplished as a wife and a mom, the difference that you're making, how focused you are on it is just, like, I just love it. It's inspiring, the mark that you've made. And really at such a young age. When I was listening to one of your podcasts, I saw that you hadn't even had a mentor until just about 9-10 years ago. So it just intrigues me, what kind of had you get into this sector? Is this something you grew up around? Is it just something that intrigued you? You don't just see a lot of females that are, I like to say, beauty and brains, right? And when you talk to you, you just exude that passion for business. So I can't wait to hear.
Thank you. So where do you want me to start?
Yeah, you said, was that a question?
Was that a question?
Well, where did you come from? How do you accomplish the things that you've accomplished? A little bit on your background. What brought you to where you are today? I'd love to get started there.
Sure. So I wasn't your typical little girl. I never played with toys and never played with dolls. I would walk around with a notebook, and I would just walk up to strangers and ask them, who are you? What do you do? How do you do it? And I would just ask them a bunch of questions and write down my answers. And my mom thought I was going to be the next Barbara Walters. So I've always been interested in people. I've always been interested in what they do. I've always been interested in their story, and also writing as a little girl, plus interested in entrepreneurship. I didn't really I didn't really come from a family of entrepreneurs, even though my father was an entrepreneur. I didn't really come from a whole family of entrepreneurs, but I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, that I would own my own companies. I think the number one reason for that is because my biggest pet peeve is don't tell me what to do. So I don't really make a very good employee because I don't like to be told what to do. But I did go to work for Xerox for a short period of time. Xerox actually recruited me from their competitor because they couldn't beat me. They would come in with a team of men, 5 to 6 men, coffee and donuts, and it was just me, and they could never beat me. So they ended up recruiting me. And then very quickly, my name became the closer. But even before Xerox, I owned small businesses in different verticals. Within 6 months, Xerox called me the closer. And the reason for that is because every time somebody couldn't close a deal, they would say, call Michelle, she can close it. She can close anything. And then my supervisor came to me within those 6 months and said, hey, you really should apply for the vice president regional position. Overseeing the South. She's overseeing 100 salespeople. She said, you probably won't get it because you've only been here for 6 months, and Xerox policy is 2 years. Plus you'll be competing with people who've been here for years and years. So I'm like, why would I interview for something I'm never going to get? It sounds like a colossal waste of time. So anyway, I ended up doing it. It was a 3-month grueling process where we had to meet with all the high-level executives doing presentations, Q&As, demonstrations on Xerox equipment. And I did get it. So Xerox broke their policy to promote me from within. I beat all my friends. So, of course, they didn't like me after that. And then I moved into that position, vice president, very quickly. And then I realized I really didn't like it, and I didn't like it because I love meeting with clients. I love solving problems. I'm solution oriented. I like building relationships that last a lifetime. And when you are in upper management for a Fortune 500 company in corporate America, all you're doing is scheduling meetings, to schedule more meetings, to schedule follow-up meetings. So it's so paperwork intensive, and you can't really, get anything accomplished. So I decided to look for another business. On the side, I was going to keep my 6-figure position with my great benefits, but I stumbled across a franchise that my husband actually knew the owner. And I approached him and said, hey, I want to buy a franchise. I want to operate it on the side because I really missed entrepreneurship. And they said, no, we don't want you to buy a franchise. We want you to partner with us, help put us on the map, and we'll give you a franchise. And I said, well, look, you only have a couple locations. I'm not going to leave a 6-figure position for somebody who's not successful. I said, I'll try it out for 6 months and see how it goes. And I did that. I kept, working at Xerox during the week. On the weekends, I would fly to different trade shows, franchise shows, host my own trade shows. And within 6 months, I sold more franchises than anyone. I sold hundreds of franchises so quickly and made more money in that entire year at Xerox. Wow. And so then I realized, hey, it's time to move on. So I was only in that position for 6 months. And then I was in franchise sales, franchise development, franchise consulting for multiple companies. But so many buyers kept coming to me and saying, hey, Michelle, do you have an existing business? We don't want to buy a franchise. And so I kept saying, no, no, no. And I'm like, law of attraction. I should be saying yes, yes, yes. And that's really why I started my mergers and acquisitions business, M&A practice. I still sold franchises, I still did franchise development and consulting. But I really got into selling businesses and then large businesses of 10 million and up. But I learned very quickly that what Steve Forbes says is true. 8 out of 10 businesses will never sell. 80% of businesses will not sell. So I said, oh my God, if I don't fix them, if I don't tweak them, if I don't grow them, if I don't put them on a build and sell plan, I'm going to starve to death. Right. Yeah. And so now we specialize in buying, selling, fixing, growing. I partner with business owners, investing my core competencies, my capital, my resources, and put them on a build to sell plan. Plus I buy businesses and flip them. We merge businesses together. And we sell companies. My firm has sold over 1,000 businesses.
over
Yes, which I mean, you're extremely well known for having a high closing ratio, right? 98, 99% helping your clients, but also getting them 20 to 40% above asking cost, which is huge. And so that's exciting. When I read your book, one of my biggest takeaways is obviously it's how we start that makes the difference, right? The foundation that we build. And I think that's a huge hole in the game, right? Obviously, as you've validated, but I know after I read your book, I thought to myself, I don't have the end in mind. You know, it's like my business will go on forever. I'll have a book of business. It will pay me, blah, 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 whatever. And I was like, everyone's thinking this way, right? And so you're really creating this awareness of how do we do it correctly. And so I'd love to, can we get into your 6 Ps a little bit on that and just some of the.
Absolutely. But before I take you through the 6 Ps, let me take you through the GPS exit. Okay, because 80% of businesses don't sell, and they don't sell because of what you just said. You said you have this idea, this methodology that your business will last forever, and you'll keep doing what you always do. Nothing lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever. What goes up must come down. Nothing lasts forever. So, and that's the mindset of a lot of business owners. They think of their business as their baby. You know, and your business is not your baby. Your business is your most valuable asset. Your babies are at home. Go home and kiss them, hug them, love them. Treat your business like the asset that it is and build it to sell. So the number one reason that businesses don't sell is because business owners never think about their exit strategy until they have to due to a catastrophic event occurring, whether that's internal or external. Internal could be health issues, partner disputes, partner's death, divorce, death of a spouse, death of the owner. External is this pandemic we've been in for the last year and a half. Trying to sell during a catastrophic event is the worst time to sell your business because your business is trending down. It's not doing as good. Look at all the restaurants trying to sell right now. So the best time to sell your business is when your business is in its prime and it's doing well. So I take all my clients through what I call the GPS exit model because the number one reason businesses don't sell is because business owners don't plan. So if you want to drive somewhere, you pull out your phone, you go to Google Maps, and what's the first thing you plug in?
The destination.
The destination. If you don't plug in your destination, what happens?
We don't know where we're going.
You don't know where you're going. You're going nowhere. You're going to drive around in circles and run out of gas,
Yeah.
And business owners don't plan to fail. They fail to plan. So business owners have no destination. So they're driving around in circles, driving up and down the financial hills to end up nowhere, to end up broke, or to end up exiting poor. So what we do is we work with our clients and say, okay, the first thing you have to do is plug in your destination. Figure out what is your end game, what is your desired sales price. Like Stephen Covey says, start with the end in mind. And let's just pick a number. Let's pick a number in the millions. What number do y'all want to pick?
To sell our business for?
Yep.
Let's go 20 million.
20 million. Perfect. That was the number I was thinking of.
All right.
So now you've started your plan. And Natalie, everyone gets caught up on a number. Don't get caught up on a number. You can adjust your sales along the way. You don't have to stick to that number, but let's say $20 million. Now, what's the next thing the GPS needs to know? Where you're starting from.
Yeah.
What's your current location? What's your current evaluation? So let's say, and let me just say this. Most business owners never get their business evaluated until they decide to sell. That is financial suicide. I just spoke to an owner the other day, and he had been in business 40 years and never had a business evaluation. We go to the doctor once a year to make sure our heart's still ticking and we're still kicking. We drive a car to the mechanic to get an annual tune-up, but we don't take our most valuable asset and get an annual valuation checkup. That's financial suicide because there are events that decrease valuation and there are events that increase valuation. So you should always know what your business is worth. So let's say you want to sell for 20 million. Let's say you're currently worth 5 million. The next thing you need to know is time frame. When do you want to sell your business? Let's say we want to do it in 10 years. Now, the next thing to know is who are your buyers going to be? Now, notice I said buyers and not buyer. Clients call me all the time and say, Michelle, I just need you to represent me with this one buyer. And I'm like, no. Like, what do you know? And I go, no, because the likelihood of that buyer actually closing on the sale of your business is slim to none. Less than 5% will actually go through and close on the sale of your business. Something will happen in due diligence and it will fall apart. Then you have no backup buyers. You never want to put all your eggs in one buyer's basket. When we work with our clients and we get them to accept an LOI, guess what? We're still working with other clients behind the scene, bringing backup offers. Plus, how can we ever maximize value with a party of one?
True.
You can't maximize value with a party of one because you can't create competition.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 5 types of buyers. 90%. Did y'all know that there's 5 types of buyers?
No, tell us more.
Yes.
90% of buyers are first-time buyers. Those first-time buyers don't buy $20 million companies. They buy coffee shops and ice cream stores and restaurants and dry cleaners and things of that nature. They buy small businesses, typically under $1 million. Then you have turnaround specialists. Turnaround specialists buy distressed assets. So they don't buy $20 million companies. They leverage the assets of the business. They come and they fix it and they turn around and sell it for a profit. Mm-hmm. Then the third type of buyer is PEGs, private equity groups. And they buy 2 ways. They buy based upon platforms and add-ons. So let's say the private equity group wants to get into food manufacturing. They won't even consider a food manufacturing company unless it has at least $3 million in EBITDA. EBITDA is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. $3 million in EBITDA and up. But let's say they're in food manufacturing and they're looking to add on. Let's say they want to add on a seasoning company. Then they'll look at businesses under $1 million in EBITDA for add-ons. But platform, the EBITDA has to be $3 million and up. Then the fourth type of buyer is strategic/competitors. They will typically pay the highest multiple because they're paying for synergies. They're paying for those synergies that will help catapult their business to the next level. Plus, they're taking advantage of economy of scale so they can decrease overhead. Plus, they look at the business's infrastructure to see what they can cut. Like we're selling a manufacturing company that has 1 fulfillment center, 1 distribution center. There's a buyer that we're working with that has fulfillment all over the United States. So the first thing they're going to do is cut that $5 million fulfillment center, increasing EBITDA right away. Now, that doesn't mean they necessarily get rid of all the employees because a lot of them will bring employees over to their current operation.
That's right.
And so then the last type of buyer is your serial entrepreneur. Your serial entrepreneur, sophisticated buyer, they're industry agnostic, they're cash flow specific. They chase EBITDA, they chase cash flow. So those are your 5 types of buyers. So once you figure that out, then you have to reverse engineer the plan and ask yourself, if I want to sell for $20 million, where's my gross revenues need to be? Where's my COGS need to be? Operating expenses. And then where's the EBITDA need to be? Because most businesses are calculated of a multiple of EBITDA. So your EBITDA to sell for $20 million is going to be between $4 million to $5 million in EBITDA. And then the next question is, what are the synergies that these buyers are looking for? What are they going to pay top dollar for? Right. And then the last component in the GPS exit model is my why. Why do I want to sell a business for $20 million? Because if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. Right? So that's the GPS exit model. Any questions?
Tons. One thing I want to ask Michelle, because a lot of people that watch our show are entrepreneurs that are building their businesses. They haven't even done a diagnostic. They don't even know what life cycle stage they're in. They might even know what a life cycle stage is or how it applies to them. And the things that you're talking about specifically are typically things that people that are entrepreneurs, not like you seem like you were a serial entrepreneur before you got your first EIN number. But most entrepreneurs aren't thinking of the end in mind. They're thinking of just, I want to do something that doesn't feel like work for more than 8 hours a day or more than 40 hours a week or 60 hours a week, whatever they're willing to put in for jobs when you want to go to become solopreneurs and what have you. So you said something, use plurals twice that I wanted to address. You said multiple buyers, which makes absolute sense. Real estate to anything. You have multiple clients on the line. But you said as you were coming as a young little girl that you knew you would own businesses. Most entrepreneurs know they aspire to own their own company, their own business. At what point and why did you know that it would be this? Because what you're talking about is a lot of mind frame. The logic makes sense of it, but the mind frame behind your mind is why you say the type of things that you say. So at what point and what was it that kind of triggered you saying, oh, it's not about having a company. I want to have multiple companies. That helps you expand your mind to go laterally. And how do you think business owners or entrepreneurs right now who may not be at that level can start to think in ways to broaden that spectrum?
So what was the trigger for me? Good question. Probably I get bored so easily. I get bored really easily. And there's opportunity that comes my way too. So I like to really look at opportunity, analyze the opportunity, see if it's a good fit for me. So I might have 2 businesses already, and then the third one's dropped in my lap for me to make the decision if this is a good fit. So I think for me, it's number one, I get bored easily. So I like variety. And I love being in different industries. At any given time, I own 5 to 10 businesses that I'm building to sell. And so for me, it's variety. It's liking different things because the fundamentals are the same. The infrastructure is really the same, regardless of what business you're in. And what books can they read? Okay, so what can they do? So I would say, read books, align yourself with a mentor, align yourself with somebody, networking groups, put yourself in a position to hang out with people where you want to go.
Right. So it's interesting that you say, so can you recall any of the things that may have been said to you that could have been looked at as a negative because the people that were saying those things to you weren't serialpreneur minded? For instance, when you say I like to do multiple things. Well, now that term is ADHD. You're changing your mind again. You were just doing something else. Now you're changing it again, and it can have a negative connotation, which can kind of, suppress potential that's there to do something ridiculously phenomenal.
Yeah. So I'm going to say a few things to that. Number one, when I worked at Xerox and I was leaving Xerox, everybody told me I was crazy. Why do you leave a 6-figure guaranteed position with great benefits? And I was climbing that Xerox ladder really quickly. And who knows, I could have been the CEO of Xerox by now. But, I don't listen to other people. I don't listen to other people, especially if they've never done anything significant. And I know that might sound bad, but nobody should be giving anyone advice unless you've already been down the road they want to travel. So if somebody gives me advice and they haven't been down that road that I'm headed, then I simply don't listen to them, And same thing with ADD. Yes, you're right. People say that all the time. In fact, I was even tested for ADD because I was for sure I had it, but I don't. They said, Michelle, you just have a very fast brain. You just think very quickly. So all of that naysay and all that those negative voices from other people, and also the negative voices in your head, you have to drown out with a powerful why. You have to figure out, why are you doing what you do? Why is it important for you to sell your business for $20 million? Why is it important to own 5 different companies? Why is it important to build your empire? Only you can figure that out. And it's got to be powerful enough to drown out all the negative voices in your head and voices from everybody else. But I just ever so politely say, thank you. Not listening, not buying it. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. The art of nodding and agreeing. I love it. Yeah.
I mean, everybody has an opinion, right?
That's right.
And everybody has a but you shouldn't do that. But you shouldn't do that. I don't let my big butt get in my way.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, and that's where you got to be, you got to be focused. You got to, know what you want. Whether that's whether that's mapping out on a vision board, whether that's mapping out your goals, whether that's mapping out the GPS exit that we just went through. Just be crystal clear on what you want, so you're focused on that and focused on the positive outcome of your goals versus what people are saying you can't do and you can't accomplish.
Absolutely. Awesome.
I mean, look at Les Brown. Les Brown is probably by far the number one speaker in the world. Do you know he was labeled as retarded when he was in school?
Right. Yeah.
And if you haven't listened to the podcast with me and Les, you should go back and listen to it. But he was labeled educably retarded by his teacher in school, as his twin was labeled extremely bright, intelligent. Right. And look at Les Brown today.
Right.
So you can't let the words of others affect you. You can't let the words of others shape your destiny. You can't let,
that's right.
Listen to your own. Listen to don't listen to your negative words, because we all have negative self-talk too.
Right. Awesome.
So let's get back into the book a little bit. What are different types of businesses, and why is it important to know what type of business that you own? Especially, I think now business has changed a lot with, MLMs and stuff like that. So expand on that a little bit, and how do you know?
Sure. So we'll go into the different types of businesses, and then we'll go right into the 6 P's. Good?
Okay. Yeah.
And then you can also take what type of business do I own at SeilerTuckerAcademy.com. And then you can also take what type of business owner am I at SeilerTucker.com. So it's really 2 different things.
But what type of business? What was that .com again? What was that .com?
You can take what type of business do I own at SeilerTuckerAcademy.com.
Okay.
And then what type of business owner am I at SeilerTucker.com.
Seiler Tucker.
Which is our main website. Yeah. So there are different types of businesses. In my book, you read my book, Natalie. You probably remember reading this. So I called it, one type of business I call the dreamer business. And this is where somebody goes and starts another ice cream store, another coffee shop, another smoothie, another restaurant on a block of like 5 other coffee shops, 20 other restaurants. And I call this a dreamer mentality because they really didn't do any due diligence. They really didn't search the area. They really didn't pull demographics. They didn't look at who's already there and is there enough business to support the 5 coffee shops that are already here. They just have this mentality that I will build it and they will come, like Field of Dreams. And then what happens is they build this business, and then the clients leave, patrons leave. Let's say they leave a restaurant to go try the new restaurant, right? And they'll go a few times. But the experience is not going to be very good. And the reason why the experience is not good is because they haven't figured out how to run on all 6 cylinders, all 6 Ps. But what are they doing? They're cannibalizing from the other restaurants, from the other coffee shops, from the other ice cream stores, because they're taking business away from them.
Right.
And what typically happens is this business will not survive because a block, a street can only support so many restaurants, so many coffee shops, so many ice cream stores, right? So I always suggest that those type of business owners don't do that. If you're going to do that, do your due diligence. Make sure that it's not oversaturated with what you're trying to open. And make sure that you have enough working capital. I once heard somebody report on the news that the business went out of business because they didn't have a good business plan. Wrong. Businesses don't go out of business because you don't have a good business plan. Businesses go out of business because you run out of money.
Right.
You don't have enough sufficient working capital. So that's the dreamer type business. And then we talk about, what type of business do you own? Do you own a service business? And let's say you're a dentist. And we just had a dentist approach that's been in business for 50 years. 1 dentist, 3 dental hygienists, wants to sell his company. And I said, look, you have no other dentist. By the way, the 3 dental hygienists are his daughters. So I said, okay, I can sell your company, but I'm not going to be able to maximize value because you actually have a job, not a business. And the purchase price will be contingent upon you and your daughter staying on for 2 to 3 years. And he said, honey, we're not staying. And I said, well, honey, if you're not staying, you're not selling. Because the minute you leave, the clients leave. So that's what I call a service business. And it can be a 1-man show or a 1-woman show. Let's say it's like him. He's a dentist or a chiropractor. No other chiropractors. Very difficult to sell. You're going to have to stay on. Let's say it's an interior decorator, a woman interior decorator. Interior decorating is so specific, right? So if the interior decorator doesn't have other interior decorators, she's not going to be able to sell that business. Let's say it's an insurance agent or an appraisal company or a home inspection company.
Mm.
So that's a one man show businesses. And then you have the small, like coffee shops, dry cleaners, ice cream stores, things of that nature. They really cannot operate without the owner being there. Yes, the owner has employees, but they can't operate without the owner being there. And then you have slightly larger businesses that might have, 25 to 50 people. That business is probably doing pretty good, but the owner's still involved. And then you move up to middle market where you have 100, 200, 300 employees. So those are the different types of businesses. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, so absolutely. It
Yep.
so goes back to that for me as you're talking, it's like rereading that cash flow quadrant. And again, that's why
Rich Dad Poor Dad?
absolutely. That's why I asked about the mindsets earlier, because everything you're saying makes such logical sense. But when it goes into practical application, the person behind the steering wheel of that car has so much to do with how they even read that GPS, even if the directions are presented to them. What mind frame do you have? What's your why, like you're saying? I think that makes all the sense in the world. Are you scalable? Are you sellable?
Well, there's a whole chapter dedicated to mindset in the book in Exit Rich.
Awesome.
And it has exercises to take, because you're right. It's, what do they always say? It's 10% effort, 80% attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with mindset. And what really helps you get clear on what to do and what not to do is a couple of things. Number one, whether you're into vision boards, whether you're into business plan and goals, write it all down and then focus on it. And then make sure you have the how-to underneath each goal that you're trying to accomplish. And focus that on a daily basis, because that will keep you on track. The other big thing is I tell everyone, and then I want to get into 6 P's because I know Natalie is chomping at the bit to get to the 6 P's.
Yeah.
But the other thing I tell all entrepreneurs to do is to keep a 30-day journal.
Okay.
And write down everything you do from the minute you get up to the minute you go to bed. Brushing your teeth, showering, coffee, working out, whatever you do, write it down for 30 days. Then put it into buckets. Bucket A, bucket B, bucket C.
Okay.
Bucket A are those tasks and activities. This is called energy management. Those tasks that only you should do. For instance, me. Can you see somebody else here doing my podcast?
Yeah.
And nobody else writes my books, because I tried to hire a ghostwriter one time, and it was a terrible experience. It was horrible. And so I'm like, I'll never do that again. So only I can write my books. Only I can do my podcast. Only I really negotiate on those large 50, 75, 100 million transactions, because I am the closer. And so those are my core competencies that I can't delegate. So bucket A are those core competencies that you're better at than everybody else, and you can't delegate those. Bucket B are those core competencies that you are so good at, but guess what? You can delegate them. Like evaluations. I'm really good at evaluations. I don't do them because I have a whole team of analysts that does them, but I oversee them and I approve the final eval. But I delegate the rest. Same thing with writing prospectuses. I'm really good at it because I'm a writer, but I delegate that to my analyst.
Right.
So you got to figure out, what am I really good at that I should be delegating? And then the last bucket are those things you should never do. Rather it's mow your yard or clean your house or go grocery shopping. I haven't been in a grocery store probably since Hurricane Katrina. And I know it sounds terrible, but the reason for that is because you got to figure out, what are you worth per hour? Let's say you're worth $100 per hour. Shouldn't you pay somebody $15, $20 an hour to do that other stuff?
Talk about it.
You shouldn't be running your errands. You shouldn't be going to the bank. You shouldn't be going to the dry cleaners. You shouldn't be doing that stuff, because that stuff zaps your energy.
Right.
So the way to really stay on top of your business is to learn what your core competencies are. Entrepreneurs, and this is going to take us right into the 6 P's. Entrepreneurs need to stop thinking they have to do it all if they want it done right. Because many entrepreneurs are doing it all, and they're not always doing it all right. So you got to focus on your strengths, hire your weaknesses.
Love it.
You will never grow unless you let go of the control. So people is the first P. You don't build a business. You build people, and people build a business. So you have to hire the right people in the right seats and ask the who question. Who opens the door? Who handles customer service, marketing, legal, accounting, manufacturing, quality control, logistics, environmental? The list goes on and on. The clue is that you should never be next to the who, because you want the business to run without you. So you want to focus on your strengths, hire your weaknesses. Now, I know a lot of entrepreneurs listening might say, look here, lady, I can't afford to hire people. You can't afford not to. If you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant. So hire 1099s. You don't have to start out with W-2s.
Right.
Hire 1099s. Figure out what your hourly worth is and hire 1099s. You can also go to your local colleges and start an internship program. We're in the middle of 5 colleges. We have a waiting list for interns that want to come do a summer internship here. We take on about 10 to 15 every summer. And we have a wait list. Wow. And we pick the best of the best. So there's always ways for you to hire help. You don't have to start off with W-2s.
Right.
But you got to have people. And Natalie, if you're going to sell that business for $20 million, you better have a layer of management. Yeah. You need that COO, that CTO, that CFO. You need that integrator. Entrepreneurs are visionaries. We're not necessarily great operators or great managers. Entrepreneurs need to focus on the vision. They need to work on the business, not in the business. Unfortunately, so many entrepreneurs have built a glorified job in which they go to work at every day versus a business that actually works for them. Buyers don't want to buy a job. They want to buy a business.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
So indeed. That's people. The next P, if you're ready.
Ready.
Is product. Product is huge. Before I jump into product, let me give you a little bit of history. When I wrote my very first book in 2013 called Sell Your Business for More Than It's Worth, I did the research and learned that 95% of all startups would fail within that first 1 to 5 years. That's the most risky. 95%. But guess what? When I wrote Exit Rich in 2019 and 2020 and did the exact same research, I learned that the business landscape has flip-flopped. It has changed dramatically. Now, only 30% of startups will go out of business. Only 30%. But out of 27.6 million companies, those companies have been in business for 10 years or longer. 70% of them will go out of business. It used to be, if you make it past 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, you're golden. You're going to be in business forever. Remember at the beginning of the show, I told you nothing lasts forever? You hear about the big box public companies all the time in the media. Toys R Us in business, 75 years, goes out of business. Kmart, Steinmart, Pier 1, Godiva, our very favorite chocolate, is closing down 1,500 locations. GNC is closing down 900 locations. Disney Store is closing all their locations. So that's what you hear in the media, because they care about public companies. They don't care about us small private companies. They're not telling you about all the private companies on every street corner, on in every town and every state across the great nation. These business owners are exiting poor. They're selling for pennies on the dollar. They're closing their businesses. They're filing bankruptcy. And in America, when you file bankruptcy, you don't just lose your business assets, you lose your personal assets too. Because most business owners commingle assets, piercing the corporate veil, so they've lost the protection. So product is the second P. The number one reason that businesses are going out of business after being in business for 10 years is because of lack of aim. AIM. Aim is always innovate and market. These business owners stop innovating. Tell me, did Blockbuster innovate when I sold Netflix? And they had the opportunity to purchase Netflix. Did Toys R Us do anything new in 75 years? No. So these businesses are going out of business because of lack of innovation and marketing. You can't do things the way you've always done them. Whoever makes it easiest for the consumer to purchase products and services is the company that's winning. Amazon is winning because they make it easy to practically buy anything. You can practically buy a horse on Amazon and have it delivered in 2 days. So product is the product, your industry, your service. You got to ask yourself, is it on the way up or on the way out? Is it thriving or dying? Do you have an Amazon and you're in your prime? If so, you should be selling. Or do you have a Blockbuster and you're about to go bust? And unfortunately, many industries are about to go bust right now because of this pandemic. But before you pack up and go home, ask yourself 3 transformational questions. Amazon did this back in the 90s. Ask yourself, what business are you in? Amazon said, we're in a book fulfillment business. We fulfill book orders. Then ask yourself, what do you do better than everyone else? What's your core competency? What is your USP, your unique selling proposition? Amazon said, we do fulfillment better than everyone else. So the next obvious question is, what business should you be in? What business should you be in? Amazon said, we should be in fulfillment, fulfilling products for everyone, not just books, all around the world. Those 3 transformational questions transformed Amazon from a small book seller to a multi-billion-dollar worldwide conglomerate that they are today. Can you imagine if they never asked themselves those three questions, where they would be?
Yeah. That's huge.
So that's product. So product, you got to always pivot. Right. And you know what? Here's another thing with product. Don't have all your eggs in one revenue basket. If you're a restaurant, don't rely on people just coming through the door and giving you money to eat in your restaurant. Because what happens when all restaurants shut down? Sell ingredients, sell spices, sell sauces, sell something, have an e-commerce business with your restaurant. You have to have multiple revenue centers. Don't just have one revenue center, because if that one revenue center fails, then you're completely out of business. Make sense?
Yeah. Very good.
The third P, and the most ignored P by business owners, is processes. Processes are kind of like exit strategy. Business owners don't think about them until something catastrophic happens. We were once selling a manufacturing business, and an employee got hurt on the manufacturing floor and lost a limb.
Wow.
So, of course, the owner got sued, and lawsuits were coming down from everybody, and he was headed into bankruptcy court. And he said, Michelle, we really need a policy for health and safety on the manufacturing floor. And I'm like, you think? You're a little late. You needed that before someone got hurt. So here's where most business owners get this wrong. Most business owners design their policies, their processes around their own agenda. For instance, let's take a chiropractor. They're open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 to 12. Then they're closed from 12 to 3, open from 3 to 5. Thursday morning, Tuesday afternoon. Did they design that process around the patient's experience, or did they design it around when they want to play golf?
Exactly.
So you have to stop and ask yourself, what do you want your clients to experience when they come to your business? McDonald's. Did y'all ever watch the movie The Founder?
Absolutely.
Mr. McDonald's. Back in the 50s, McDonald Brothers said, we want to design a fast food restaurant with a fast food system, and we want it to be designed around the customer's experience. We want our customers to experience great tasting food that's hot 30 seconds or less. Do you remember when they went to the open tennis courts and they took chalk and they took all their employees and they drew out the processes and they kept bumping into each other, step on each other's toes? They were out there for 9 hours until they figured out who takes the order, who toasts the bun, who cooks the burger, who puts the 2 pickles on the bun and gives it to the customer. Even though those processes were designed in the 50s and tweaked along the way, you can eat at McDonald's anywhere in the world and get the same experience, right?
Yeah.
Plus, they can fire somebody and replace somebody within 30 minutes and have them working the drive-through because they have SOPs.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is you have to think about your business from your customers, your clients' perspective, not from your own. And you have to ask yourself, what do we want our clients to experience? If you don't create wow experiences, then your competitors will be happy to do it for you, and you will lose market share. You want to create raving fans that tells everybody to come do business with you. Your processes should also be efficient, productive, and well-papered, meaning have policy and procedure manuals. Keep it open, because every time you add a policy, every time you're like, oh, we need a policy for that, then yes, go add a policy. The problem is companies wait So they think they have all their policies together, and then they want to write this 500-page manual. Policy and procedures is ongoing, forever evolving. So, and then you want to make sure you have SOP checklists, employee handbooks, employee non-competes, all of that. But it must be designed with the customer experience in mind. Have you both ever had a problem and you try calling a bank or a retail outlet or a social media company? Heaven forbid if you get hacked in social media, because it happened to me twice.
Yeah.
You can't reach anybody. Or if you do lucky, or if you are lucky enough to have a phone number, you hit this prompt, then this prompt, then that prompt. Then you finally get somebody on the phone and you tell your whole story and you're like, oh, let me transfer you.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell me that before. And then they transfer you to like 5, 6, 7, 8 people, and then you're like living hot. And then when they transfer you, you're like, well, why are you so upset? Why are you so angry? Don't take it out on me. You know? So their processes are designed to create and infuriate your experience, a horrible experience, not designed to create a good experience. Make sense?
Say that last part again, because I think that's that introspective part. They create processes to do what?
To infuriate us.
Yeah.
They create processes to make it more efficient and productive for their company to run, because they don't want to pay somebody to answer the phone, or they don't want to pay somebody to oversee quality control. They don't want to pay somebody to handle your problem. So they create policies and processes to infuriate us, not to create happy experiences, right?
That's
like
right.
Social media is a perfect example for that. I've been hacked twice. Credit card was stolen. Couldn't get anybody on the phone. Took 3 months to solve the problem. So they really need to go back to the bases and ask themselves, what do we want our clients to experience? How do we want our clients to feel? You have to ask your clients, what do you want? What do you need? How can I make it easier for you to do business with us? Because if you don't, your competitor will. So you got to go back to designing those processes to create happy clients. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So good.
I mean, Dr. Nito Cobain, my podcast is coming out in a couple of weeks on Dr. Nito Cobain. He is a president of High Point University. He's on the board of Lazy Boy, Great Harvest Bread Company, and like 10 other companies. He is, extremely successful. He is the director of WOW at High Point University, and he is the director of UnWow.
Wow.
And that is their position.
Wow.
Their position. So when they enroll students, they ask the students, what's your favorite drink? What's your favorite candy? What's your favorite snack? So let's say there's a shower leak in the dorm and a student calls to complain about it. When that student gets back from class, there's a basket of all of their favorite things with a note that says, I'm so sorry that you had a bad experience today. I hope this brightens your day and makes it better. That's the director of WOW. Because I had another WOW. Every WOW brings you up in the branding ladder, and every WOW brings you down in the branding ladder. Every WOW brings you up, every UnWow brings you down.
Gotcha.
Do y'all know what the branding ladder is?
Talk to me about it. No, I do not. Please tell me.
So everyone starts at the bottom of the branding ladder, which is brand absence. This is what consumers don't know who you are and what you do. Then you go from brand absence to brand awareness. At least consumers know who you are and what you do. Then you go from brand awareness to brand preference. I prefer to drink Coke instead of Pepsi. Then you go from brand preference to brand insistence. And, I used to travel all the time before COVID and speak on numerous stages across the United States. And I always would ask them for a Diet Coke at lunch. And then they always, back to me and they say, hey, is Pepsi okay? Is Diet Pepsi okay? No, Diet Pepsi's not okay. If I want a Diet Pepsi, I would order Diet Pepsi, right? So that's brand insistence. I only drink Diet Coke. I will never drink Pepsi. Who drinks rum and Pepsi? Than Pepsi,
Yeah.
So I will only drink Diet Coke. That's brand insistence. Brand advocacy is when you say, hey, go Xerox this. Go Google it.
Right.
That's brand advocacy. It's always better when other people sell you instead of you selling yourself.
Right.
When you get your brand to brand advocacy, that's when you're making a tremendous amount of money. And that's when you should be selling. All right. So this brings us into the fourth P, which is proprietary. So let me give you a crash course on valuations. Businesses that have under $1 million in EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, will trade anywhere from 1 to 3, maybe 3.5 if they have a lot of synergies and a lot of buyers wanting that business. Businesses that have over $1 million in EBITDA will typically start at a multiple around 4.5 to 5. Then, depending upon your synergies and your proprietary assets, you can get a 6, an 8, a 10. So this fourth P, proprietary, is the highest value driver of all of the Ps. This will take you from a 5 to an 8 multiple. These are proprietary assets. There's 6 of them. So the last 2 Ps are quick. This one's going to take a little bit of time. The first pillar to proprietary is branding. When I just mentioned brand advocacy, the more well-branded you are, the more I can sell your company for, as long as your brand is relevant in the mind of the consumers. Is anybody paying any money for Xerox? I mean, not Xerox. Sorry, Xerox. Is anybody paying any money for Blockbuster?
Mm-mm.
No. What's the most valuable brand in the world?
I don't know. What is the most valuable brand in the world?
Apple.
Amazon.
Amazon's in
Apple.
the top 10. Apple is the most valuable. Apple's worth $359 billion. That's just the brand. That's not assets, inventory, real estate, cash flow. That's just the brand. So build your brand, build your exit rich. Trademarks are huge. Trademark your company name, your slogan, your logo, your podcast. Now, your products. We actually have a client that's got 12 different products, and each product is exclusive to a retail chain. So they have one product that has a federal trademark that's exclusive to Walmart, one Target, one TJ Maxx. Strategists will pay a lot more money for that. Here's a mistake the business owners make with trademarks. They go to GoDaddy, they plug in the name. Yes, I got the .com, and they're all excited. And then they go to their local state and get a trademark. But they never check the federal database to make sure that that company name is available. So I've seen businesses in business 5, 10, 15, 20 years all of a sudden receive a cease and desist letter, and you have to stop using that company name. Then you have to start the branding all over again. Now you can hire an attorney, throw a lot of money at it, but in all likelihood, you're going to lose. So spend the $1,500 to $2,000, protect your IP, make sure you've trademarked your TV name, your podcast, anything that's unique to you. Also, patents are huge. Do you watch Shark Tank?
Oh, yeah.
What if every single shark always asks an inventor? Do you have a patent on that? Do you have a patent pending? Do you have a utility patent? You know, they won't get, their offer is always contingent upon you proving that you have the patent.
Right.
We sold a company for $18 million. It wasn't making any money, but guess what it had? It had 18 patents. So patents are big. Also, contracts are huge. Manufacturing contracts, franchisor contracts as franchisees, distribution, any type of exclusive contracts. The most valuable that buyers will pay more money for are client contracts, especially if they have reoccurring subscription models. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the big mistake that business owners make with contracts. So I have never met a business owner in the last 20 years, I've been doing this over 20 years, that actually has a 2-sentence transferability clause that says this contract is transferable to the new entity. 98% of all sales are asset sales, not stock sales. If a buyer does not agree to a stock sale and your customers won't sign a consent to transfer, your deal could fall apart. Years and years and years ago, there was an M&A firm, kind of business broker M&A firm. They had 1,500 franchisees. They sold to a private equity group. The due diligence team never checked the contracts for the transferability clause. They closed on the sale of the business, realized when I read the contract afterwards that they don't have to transfer. Nobody went to the 1,500 franchisees to get consent of transfer signed. So when they realized that, they threw this huge party, paid for the air, paid for the lodging, paid for everything for them and their family to come out. The franchisees didn't like the private equity group because they thought they were arrogant and they didn't think they had any experience in running that type of industry. So only one franchisee transferred over. 1,499 didn't.
Yeah.
So guess what happened? They ended up filing bankruptcy.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up suing their entire legal team. So make sure you have that transferability clause. The other thing that's very valuable is databases. Your CRM. You need to make sure that you're nurturing your clients, that you're touching them on a regular basis. If they can be repurposed and retargeted, then a strategic or competitor will pay a lot of money for them. Facebook paid $19 billion for WhatsApp, and WhatsApp was hemorrhaging. But Facebook had a synergy, and that's what we're talking about right now, are synergies. Facebook had a synergy that they knew they could ROI and monetize, and that was 1 billion users. WhatsApp had 1 billion users. Celebrity endorsements were big. You know, getting Carlton to endorse your product is huge. we have a client that has products with Oprah. You know how many strategics and competitors will pay a lot of money for that because they want to get their product in front of the queen of everything? So celebrity endorsements, radio personalities are huge because they can only endorse one vertical at a time. So one skincare, one diet company, one educational platform. And let's say you have Glenn Beck endorsing your diet company in those prime spots. No other company can get in there. That's what we call prime digital real estate. And then also for my e-commerce businesses, anytime you can get the top 3 positions on Wayfair, Etsy, Amazon, eBay, strategists will pay a lot more money for that because they want those top positions. Make sense?
Yeah.
So these are strategies that buyers evaluate. And when we go to put a business on the market, we know what buyers we're going to bring to the table, and we know what buyers we can create a bidding war with. And that's how we can maximize value. So the 5th P is Patreons. This is your client base. Most businesses follow the 80-20 rule, where 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your clients. You don't want customer concentration. You need customer diversification. Okay, I'll tell you a really quick story. We had a customer that had customer concentration. 65% of the revenue was tied up with the BP contract. We appraised it for $9.8 million. We have 550 buyers. We narrowed it down to 12 and got 12 LOIs, letter of intent. But every single LOI had a contingency in there to that BP contract. And my owner said, I'm not going to agree to those contingencies. Well, luckily, we found a strategic that had similar products and services that have been trying to get in BP for years. And that strategic said, I don't care about the customer concentration. I want to get my foot in the door so I can get my products in the door. So he outbid everybody else and paid $15 million for 70% of the company, which was 126% more than what the business appraised for.
Mm.
So the last P, the reason why all of us are in business is for profits. The reason I put profits last is because the lack of profits is never the problem.
Mm.
It's always a symptom of not operating one of the other 5 Ps. I have clients that come to me and say, Michelle, I have a profit problem. I'm like, no, you have a people problem. Or you have a process problem. Lack of profits is never the problem. It's always a symptom. If you're running all 5 Ps, I promise you, you will be very profitable. If you're not, you won't be profitable. So those are your 6 Ps.
Wow.
That last P really summed it all up. Was the
It really did.
concise one as well. To get to the money, get your whole entire system operating sustainably.
Yeah. One of the other things I didn't even talk about that contributes to lack of profits is embezzlement. I believe it's 1 out of 5 business owners are embezzled every single year. I had one owner that was embezzled 8 different times.
Wow.
And that's because they don't inspect what they expect. They trust, but they don't verify.
Verify everything.
Trust, but verify everything. Inspect what you expect. Have layers of protection, layers of checks and balances.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Michelle, that was amazing how you broke down the 6 Ps. You know, I think back to Mark Lemonis on The Profit, and he always talk about his 3 Ps, which is people, profits, and processes. And he really dives deep on the shows, and he does that. But to hear the additional 6 Ps are so important, because I can see business owners not understanding all of those components, and then they just merrily go on their way, and they forget the patent protection or the proprietary component. And like you said, they do the Google or they do the trademark, and they do it locally versus nationally. And all of those are so relevant for the benefit of the businesses long haul. And even that, as you say, it's not perpetual. At some point, that business is going to come to an end.
Right.
Something's going to change. Something is going to change.
Nothing lasts forever.
We wish we will. We wish businesses would, right? Back in the industrial age, when they were building these companies, Ford and GE, they were thinking these companies will be here forever. You know, now you have Chime competing with JP Morgan. Like, I mean, come on, this is changing
now you have
our
Tesla
world.
competing with
Yeah.
everybody.
That's right. That's right. So much is changing. We just don't really see it that way. And I think, number one, I recommend that everybody who's watching the show to go over to the Academy and the Seiler Academy and make sure that they do their assessment and their evaluation and find out what type of business they are and what type of business owner there are. And it's funny when you said that, I was behind the studio just cracking up laughing, because Tehran and I created what type of entrepreneur are you 5 years ago, and it was like these different animals, and the animals kind of spoke to the personality of are you a whale? Are you an eagle? Are you a shark? Are you what was some of the ones we had? Cheetahs.
You sound like James Stanley, because that's what he does too. Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah. Turtle. He had the turtles and the sloth. You know, if you're the sloth of business, then we know what you're doing. You're real slow. Anyway, but I just really thought about that, and I just see all of the synergies. I just can't wait to talk to you again.
Thank you.
I know we'll be very soon. We got to have you back next season. But then I want to.
Let's talk about where they can get the book too before we leave.
Well, we're not going anywhere. We just extended the show. We just contacted the networks. We're extending. We're riding out. But yes, awesome. Michelle, before we go anywhere, please let everyone know where they can get the book, and I'll make sure I jump off and I can put it up on the screen for everyone to see.
So the one thing I want to mention real quick too is that businesses go through life cycles like humans do. So I talk about this in my book. We're all born and put in an incubator, right? Where do you think business ideas are? In an incubator. Only 5% of businesses actually make it out of the incubator. Then we go from an incubator to a newborn. What does a newborn need? 24-hour supervision and a lot of freaking money. Then they go to toddlers, which are their crazy, terrible 2s and 3s. What do they need? A lot of supervision, a lot of money. Then you go to teenager. Teenagers are very, very rebellious. They don't need as much supervision, but they still need a lot of money. And then you go to young adult, which young adults, they kind of figure it out. You know, young adult businesses kind of figure it out. They don't need as much supervision. They don't need as much money. But then you go to adult, which is in your prime. Let me compare this for you. Toys R Us was in their adult prime stage in 2015, are worth $11 billion. After adult, where do you go? Senior citizens. 1 year later, after they're worth $11 billion in their prime when they should have sold, 1 year later in 2015, they filed bankruptcy. What's after senior citizen? Death. 2 years later, after they were worth $11 billion, they died and closed down all 1,500 locations worldwide. Mercy. So businesses follow the same life cycle as humans.
Indeed.
Absolutely.
That's powerful.
Michelle, I know we talked about this, but I don't know. No, we haven't. You and I haven't had the opportunity to walk through the Pillar 5 assessment, but that's exactly what we do. In that assessment is identify the life cycle stage, whether you're a toddler, whether you're an infant, where are you at? Where are your growing pains? And I think merging that with that guidance through your exit rich with the 6 P's and understanding first where you are and then understanding how to move through the whole process with your GPS, I think is just fail safe. But again, people have to do the processes. They have to engage it. They have to be willing to do the work, and they shouldn't be made required to be accountable. They should be accountable because they want to be accountable. And I think many business owners wait to be held accountable by somebody. And I think they just need to wake up accountable. They just need to have that go get it.
I agree, but I also think they have to change their mindset, because you've watched Marcus Lemonis on The Profit. That you will never grow the business beyond what you can grow the owner.
So
you
true.
will never grow the business. And I know, because I have partners, and I'm like, I just want to like shake them and go, why are you not getting this? And how many times has Marcus Lemonis told them what to do? And they do the complete opposite of what he tells them to do, and they don't want to let go of the control. You will never grow unless you let go of the control. And entrepreneurs are just holding on to their ideas so tight, and you will never be able to grow and expand if you don't let go.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
I want to know where everyone can get your book,
sure.
Michelle, for sure.
So just to tell you a little bit about Exit Rich, it was endorsed by Steve Forbes. And Steve Forbes says Exit Rich is a gold mine for those entrepreneurs, for all entrepreneurs, because they leave way too much money on the table. Sharon Lecter is my co-author, and y'all mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad earlier. Sharon wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad with Robert Kiyosaki. She's a New York Times bestselling author 5 times. We're trying to make her number 6 with Exit Rich. And she's also a CPA, financial literacy expert, the advisor to many different presidents, including President Obama. She writes the Mentor's Corner after each one of my chapters. And her husband, as a bonus, just happens to be an intellectual property attorney. So he has content to the proprietary chapter. And Kevin Harrington, the original Shark on Shark Tank, wrote our foreword. We have glowing testimonials from Les Brown, Jack Canfield, Brian Tracy, Tom Hopkins, Mark Victor Hansen, Brad Sugars from Action Coach, and many more. So Exit Rich comes out June 22nd, but you don't have to wait till June 22nd. You can go to exitrichbook.com right now and read Exit Rich, exitrichbook.com for $24.79, which is less than Amazon.
Yeah.
We will send you the digital copy. And let me just give you a quick case study. We have a pharmaceutical company that called us up and said, hey, I got the digital copy. I printed out on ledger paper. I'm using it as a workbook. I'm integrating it to my exit strategy and also to my growth plan. And I want you to help me to build to sell the business, between 30 to 50 million. And he says the best business book he's ever read. He's been in business for years and years and years and didn't know about these different techniques and strategies. So you can start reading Exit Rich today and use it as a workbook. And we'll ship the hardcover to your doorstep for no additional charge to anyone that lives in the United States for $24.79. Plus, we will give you a lifetime membership into the Exit Rich Book Club, where there's video content and me taking deep dives into these different strategies and techniques. Plus documents to operate your business, documents to sell your business, sample policy and procedure manuals, org charts, employee handbooks, non-competes, to sell your business, sample letter of intents, purchase agreement, due diligence checklist, and closing docs. These documents are there for your review and your download. If you went to your attorney to recreate all these documents, it would cost you thousands upon thousands upon thousands. And you can use them. Just take the Seiler Tucker name off of them. I had a lady email me templates the other day. She goes, can I use these templates? I said, yeah, if you remove my name. And then we'll give you a 30-day free membership into Club CEOs, which is a mastermind, an entrepreneurship mastermind, where we ask those transformational questions. So we help business owners pivot so they can build those sustainable, scalable, and when they're ready, sellable businesses so they can exit rich too. All for $24.79 at exitrichbook.com. I think that's less than lunch.
Yes. Right. Wonderful. I love it. Thank you so much for being here. I know that I went to Exit Rich and downloaded my book and read it in one night. And I hadn't been so intrigued by a book in years. I'm an avid reader. I love to read, but I hadn't found one that caught my attention like that in years. And what I loved about it is we're focusing on the fundamentals, yes, which for me, I can sometimes it can overwhelm me a little bit when you're going into the fundamentals or getting in the weeds. But with how much you guys put in there with mindset and the balance of it, I just couldn't get enough. And I felt like it kept me engaged, and I could see all the little pivots I need to make in my own business to maximize that profit, because I don't want to leave money on the table. I've worked so hard. How do I get the most juice from my business? And you definitely deliver on that. So I just love it. I'm thrilled you were on the show with us today, and we got to meet you and have this time with you. And just thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Natalie. I'm impressed that you read it in one night.
Thank you.
It's like 325 pages.
Yeah, I know. I got so excited. I actually emailed the guys, and I was like, I'm not going to text you. It's like 3 a.m, but I'm fired up.
Like Zig Ziglar used to say, if you're not all fired up, your matches are wet.
Michelle, it's been a pleasure to have you on. And again, we just can't wait to have you back.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure we had Tehran back before we actually exited. Not exited rich, but exited the show.
Thank you, Nellie. Thanks, Tehran. Thanks, Carlton. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yes, indeed. I look forward to it.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much.
All right.
Thank you for reading the book, Nellie.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for sharing all this wonderful information. And for those of you who missed out, please go back and watch the replay. You can get Exit Rich at exitrichbook.com, $24.79. Plus, you get the digital copy. And I'm not even going to begin and tell you all the bonuses. Just go get it. Just go get it.
And I don't want to say, be prepared to assess your mindset. You will find out what business you're in. You'll do your personal evaluation, and then you're going to ask, what business should I be in? I just want to let you know, Michelle, that was one of the most profound things you said today.
Oh,
you may find out that you're doing something different, or you need to do something different, and you need to be willing to pivot.
Yeah,
if you're going to exit rich, right side of the quadrant, to get it right or get out. That's how you say in sales. Get it right or get out, man. Let's go.
That's right.
That's right, and build those congruent revenue streams.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then you can also take the 6P quiz at SeilerTuckerAcademy.com too.
SeilerTuckerAcademy.com.
Yep, you can take the 6P quiz. So there's 2 quizzes there: the 6P quiz, and what type of business do you own? Is that SeilerTuckerAcademy.com.
Awesome.
Right.
I can't wait till we get with Michelle and get Pillar 5 in there. Woohoo! I'm looking forward to it.
You gotta have me back.
All right. Michelle, I can't wait to talk to you tomorrow. Thank you so much for coming us and joining us. Have a great day.
You.
All right, guys.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.
What an amazing show. I was refusing to come on because of my face, but she's just an amazing person and has so much to share. She really did that whole piece. She just went through all of that. That's
She's
just amazing.
mind-blowing.
She is mind-blowing. I think my favorite takeaway today, and I know we're running on extended time, but it's Michelle. She gets extended time.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. I think the most important thing that I took away was the after the maturity stage mindset. When you get after the maturity stage in your life cycles is when you get into the decline stage. And we've researched that, Tehran, 1,000 times, and we've saw it. And we always stop at maturity because we don't propose to teach people how to go through the decline stage. But I think what we're going to have to do now as we look forward is when they get into the maturity stage, we really need to start sending these people to Michelle so that they can get a better understanding of how to get out of it, how to exit at the high peak of, if we're in a stock at the highest point of that trade versus waiting to after the decline and then trying to exit. I think that's the most important thing that I realized today. And I thank you, Michelle, for giving us that information. And we'll definitely be in touch about that. So what was your takeaway, Natalie?
That was a big one. The other one too was just getting back to the fundamentals when she was going through the 6 Ps of how we are setting things into place for when we want to sell our business, right? Make sure we're putting the foundation correctly so that we can sell it for maximum profit, because if not, it's going to take something to happen in life statistically to go back and look at those things and say, okay, well, either I'm put in place now or life is forcing me to sell, so I'm not going to maximize my profit. But if we start it right from the beginning, it's just as simple, right? We go through our life cycle stage, we get down maturity stage, we say that was what we planned for. And so it does exactly what it was supposed to do.
Absolutely. What about you, Tehran?
Well, 2. One was that self-assessment of what kind of business owner am I? What business am I in? What am I, basically what should I be doing? Being willing to see that. And her self-awareness. I really like that. When she said when she was a little girl, she knew she wanted to own multiple businesses, and that kind of helped her in her trajectory. So I'm sure when you're saying as a little girl or a child, I want to own multiple businesses, you're going to get way more naysayers as adults, mind you, than people that are going to be proactively helping you achieve your goals. So just having that solid core awareness inside, like, well, this is what I want to do. Nobody's wrong. Maybe this isn't for you, but this is for me. So everybody listening, whatever you're doing, that you're right, because that's what you're doing. I think it was James Allen who said, if you ever want to find out what you want in life, look at what you got. Because we only get what we want. We're just not always aware of our true subconscious wants. But if you look at your environment, you look at your situation, it will be revealed to you. Now, you got to go do the homework to find out what caused you to get there. So just, that part, really. Anything introspective, really, I like to take away, because that's the stuff that you can't. It's hard to communicate that. A person has to go through that experience.
Wow.
And Exiting Rich is really a book and a concept that is going to take a person to say, what do I really, really want? Not in public. Your character is who you are when nobody's watching. What do you really, really want when you're not even asked the question? What makes you pop up out of bed? When you wake up, what's that first thought in your head that keeps you going? What's your torque made out of? You don't have to say this stuff. You don't have to post it on social media, but you have to be aware of what it is. And to be aware, you have to go inside.
Wow. Absolutely. Love it. All right. Well, as always, this was a special edition of the Better Your Business Show with Michelle Seiler Tucker, author of Exit Rich. Of course, we had your financial architect, Natalie Essman, your money expert, and Tayron Glover, founder of I Do Systems. And we'll be with you again next week. We'll bring you another special edition. We won't tell you what it's going to be. It'll just be a shocker, as always. So stay tuned, stay focused, stay positive, and we'll see you next week. A wise man once asked, what if starting a business was like jumping out of a plane? And like 76% of businesses, what if 76% of parachutes failed before you reached the destination? What about those of you who have already jumped? Well, you may still have time to check your business. Pillar5.com, where businesses get it right. Our goal is simple: to help you achieve the dream and vision you first had when you thought about starting a business. We're here to make growing your business less complicated. There are building blocks to build a sustainable business. We promise to seek them out and